Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gills, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee?
I don't drink coffee.
You sure? It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh, then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to my home. Welcome to the office. Welcome to the morning grind. It is fantastic to be here with you for a Wednesday morning grind. Feels like old times. It's fantastic to be here. I have been missing this. So I have been working on the Cultist RPG some more, and basically any kind of spare time that I've got. Zero the Blade is here, says, have some free time to work on this today. Well, I've been trying to get up in the morning and work on this, and in the evenings some as well. Basically, that's all I've been working on if I'm here at the house. There are other things that have got to be done, because we're going to do some promotion of this too and really get the word out about this. But I'm kind of focused on getting the rule book written, and then also the Kickstarter page finalized and submitted to Kickstarter for approval, and all of that going, and then really turning my mind toward promotion and getting more word out about the Cultists itself and what we're doing here in the game and stuff like that. So since I'm not at the winery today, I figured that, hey, I was working on it this morning. I was working on it this morning, then went back and took a little bit of a nap. Now I'm back here. I thought, hey, we should be live today. So, hey, PH, good morning. So PH says I should say that I should have said before, the Barbarians of Lemuria has a free online version, and the rules for spells are like 2 to 4 pages. I think the whole rules section is like 16 pages. Let me see if I can find that, because I did look that up the other day. Barbarians of Lemuria free. Maybe we should take a look at this. If somebody has the link to that, let's see. We could put it in the Discord server. Barbarians of Lemuria Core Rules Mythic Edition. Well, a bunch of different places. Okay, no, hey, here's free Barbarians of Lemuria Adventure PDF. Well, I'm not sure. If we have the right, if somebody has it, put it in the Discord server, put it in the Discord, and then we'll take a look at it. Hey, good morning, James. Good morning. It is a great day for the grind. Let's see what else is going on there. And hey, Brett, good to see you. All right. So yes, hopefully we are getting back to it. We need more promotion. We need to grow. I need to work on that. But I was like, I only put my mind on so much at one at a time, and I don't want to get into a situation where I'm doing everything else and the rule book here isn't the best that it can be, and that the Kickstarter page, the mine's also going to be on the Kickstarter page. So stuff is coming. Let me go over here. So I did find. Is that what I'm supposed to be looking at? Is that the free? The free Barbarians of Lemuria. But let's see. So we are over here. I didn't set up a locals test. I meant to, because I did have the problem last time that it cut off because I have a 30-minute live stream limit. And so I'm not sure how to handle that. Man, nothing is easy. I'm still working on some way to set up potentially running a locals, which is like a Patreon alternative for the coffee shop, which I want to get that going back again. The online tabletop gaming coffee shop. I want to get that going, and I want to be able to do that a bit more casually. The whole RavenCon is kind of a big thing, but we also do need, I think, some more casual ways to play and get in, including playtesting the Cultists, and then also Ritual as well. So playtesting needs to be done in there. But I was trying to use locals because it does allow native live streaming. But at the moment, the live stream limit is only 30 minutes. So maybe next time I'm on the morning grind, what I'm going to try is seeing if I can turn on a local stream later in the stream. I still like for it to be seamless, though. I'd like for you to be able to watch it there if you wanted to, but we will see. I'll put a link in the Discord. Oh, that is. Okay, got it. Okay. All right. So we will see. Thank you for that link. All right. So, but anyway, so that is, so I'm still working on that, because we need to get that up and running, and then also a way to play test and things like this. If you're here and you haven't done it already, let me go ahead and, we'll put this out later. But the Elder Dice giveaway, once the Kickstarter launches for the Cultists RPG, we'll give away all these dice. I've got all the dice sitting over there right behind me there, ready to go. So we'll give away $500 worth of dice. Lovecraft themed Cthulhu dice, all the Elder dice. It's a lot of Elder dice that was part of the, I was part of this project, and I've got lots of Elder dice around here, and they need to get to a good home. I've got the complete set of the Elder dice up there, but I've got some extras as well, and hey, they need to go to a good home. So that's what's basically going on. And of course, if you are here, but you're not over on the Cultist channel, we're talking about creating an RPG for a web show. So let me just put the link to the web show right there. That's the link to the YouTube channel for the Cultists. Additional watch hours over there on the Cultists it would be very much appreciated. So season 1, all of season 1 is up. I even got the blooper reel up yesterday. So I got did the audio of the blooper reel. So should sound nice for you. So that is up and over there. And if you're watching over on the Cultist channel right now, well, welcome. I am the creator, the producer, and the co-writer of the show, and now I'm working on the RPG here. And So when we're doing something related to the Cultists, I will live stream over on the Cultist side of things. But the Heath's Geekverse channel is where I ordinarily stream for game-related material. So we're dual streaming today. All right, let's go over to work on the Cultists RPG. And I think we can finish the narrative roles today. I got pretty close yesterday, and then I started writing out some stuff on the different cults. So let's take a look here. Where's my, here we go. Oh, well, should we go over here to the Barbarians of Lemuria? Let's see what this is, because before we get into the rules, let's actually take a look at this. So, so this is 43 pages with everything. Creating a hero, role-playing, creating a hero, magicians and sorcerers. What should we look at? Page 19? Let's take a look at page 19. The idea here, I believe, was that PH was saying that this has a magic system that is interesting and might have some ideas for this, for the cultists. So let's see what they do here. Characters with points in the magician career begin play with a number of spell points equal to 10 plus their magician career level. So this is the first draft. Oh, I'm looking at the Discord server as well. Somebody was posting there. Magicians, all spells fall into one of four classes: cantrips and spells of first, second, or third magnitude. Magicians, who are also called sorcerers, wizards, or witches, also have rune-inscribed rings, amulets, talismans, and trinkets, and so forth about their bodies, through which they can cast very minor and simple tricks or cantrips. So let's see. So cantrips are very basic spells, allowing the caster to conjure a brief pool of light, the distant sound of laughter, a spark to light a fire, etc. Other examples might include making a coin vanish, causing a rope to slither up a castle wall, or distracting a guard with an imaginary sound. Such spells rarely cost more than 1 power point and only require a skill roll when directly affecting a sentient target. Really, much more powerful spells are trickier, though, and the really heroic stuff, and the stuff of heroic magicians and evil sorcerers. So these are utility spells. Oh, spells of first magnitude. Okay, spells of first magnitude tend to be utility spells. They allow sorcerers to perform activities and anyone with the right training and equipment could manage. A spell might allow the caster to glide up the side of a cliff, since a normal person with rope and pythons could achieve the same result eventually. Damaging spells of this type would typically cause D6 points of damage to the target. These spells cost 4 spell points and have a price too. The caster must choose one of the casting requirements from the listed below, or create one with your own GM's approval. Okay, so I think this is what you were talking about, PH. Like, what to think about this, the casting requirements. Select a second requirement to reduce the cost to 2 power points. So spells of the first magnitude are either moderate or hard action resolution results. So yeah, so if I'm understanding this idea right, let's see. Well, let's see. Spells of the first casting requirement. Special item. So you could require a special item. An ancient tome, heavy tablet, or delicate scroll is required, but it's relatively easy to come by. Some bartering or a short journey or a minor expedition. Let's see. Yes, this is the framework. Okay. Hey, Mike. Well, we're going to be taking a look at the Cultist RPG, but PH is recommending that we take a look at the magic system in Barbarians of Lemuria for potential inspiration. Let's breathe and sip, by the way. I got started a little bit late, and so I'm behind on this. So everybody got your favorite beverage this morning? I've got Coke Zero this morning. So everybody have that handy. Let's go ahead and breathe and sip. 2 deep breaths in through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth twice, and then take a sip of your favorite beverage. So here we go. Let's breathe. And sip. All right. So, line of sight, the caster must be able to clearly see his or her intended target. Casting time, it will take at least 1d6 times 30 minutes of meditation, chanting, dancing to correctly execute. Intimate materials, a personal item of the intended target, or a tile from the target building, for example, is required. Special knowledge, the caster must conduct lengthy research before he or she has the necessary information to cast the spell. Obvious technique, the caster must gesture, chant, dance, or make strange sounds during a brief casting process. Hour power. The spell may be only cast at a specific time of day. Ritual cleansing. The caster must bathe in the water and essential oils and shave all body hair or bodily hair from his or her body. Okay, I do like this because when we see spells being cast, or at least supposedly being cast in the Cultist, when we see spells supposedly being cast in the Cultist, they aren't like D&D style. Well, I mean, there's D&D in the second season, but they aren't just D&D in the sense that you just wave your hand or something and there's some kind of effect. They're more ritualistic like this, and they require stuff to take effect. So things like this. So I think you're right, PH. So spells of the second magnitude, these are much more powerful. But let's look at their casting requirements. I think we should add something about this into the spell casting section, or the section on magic in the Cultist RPG. Spell second magnitude casting requirements. Special item. An ancient tome, heavy tablet, or delicate scroll is required that is difficult to obtain. It's rare, held in distant lands at the top of a dark wizard's tower guarded by vicious winged apes. Rare ingredients. An expedition is required to locate the necessary item or perform the magic. It will take 1d6 weeks and at least a purse of gold to obtain the necessary items. Of course, any magician worth his salt would have a stable of willing barbarians to track down those special herbs for him. Permanent focus. The caster must undertake ritual tattooing to permanently inscribe the details of the spell on his or her person. Sounds like getting branded. Casting time. The spells will take at least 2d6 hours of meditation, chanting, dancing, etc. to correctly execute. A ritual sacrifice. An animal of at least the size of a lamb must be sacrificed prior to casting. Lunar. The spell may only be cast during a specific phase of the moon. We've even had that. That's when they're trying to do the ritual branding. Personal ordeal. The caster must fast for 2d6 days. So third magnitude casting requirements might include personal ordeal. The caster must undertake ritual scarring and or mutilation to achieve the right frame of mind for casting. Ritual sacrifice. A sentient being must be slaughtered to empower the spell. A beautiful wench would be more suitable, but they tend to have hairy barbarians trailing behind them that frequently take issue with the whole sacrificing thing. The stars are right. The spell may only be cast at a specific day of the year when the necessary stars and planets are incorrectly aligned. Place of power. There's only one place known to man where this spell may be cast, and guess what? It's not close. Demonic transformation. Casting the spell will permanently maybe transform the caster into some horrible demonic form with even more cliched maniacal laughter. So, for example, Volfine the Black is planning to raise a volcano in the middle of the hero's hometown. The GM rightly assesses the spell as being of the third magnitude, as Volfine is an NPC, and selects the stars are right as the casting requirement, which means the PCs only have 30 days to stop this sorcerer before the coming eclipse spells their doom. Okay. I think we need a section about this in this. Hey, good morning, BGD. Hey, good morning. Good morning. Good to have you. Oh, we have a first-time viewer here. Well, if you are, yes, good morning. Let's, hey, Callie, let's take a sip. Let's take a sip in your honor. So here we go. Here's to you. Thank you for being here with us this morning. So we are working on the Cultists RPG together, but it was recommended that we take a look at the Barbarians of Lemuria spell system in order to integrate that into potentially some of the ideas into the Cultists RPG. And I think you were completely right about that, PH. I think we need to talk about that because I'm going to put a note up here. I'm going to have to go through this again, but a lot of this up here is ready. But let's see, where did we have magic here? Magic in the Cultists. So this has to do with whether or not Magic and the Cultists is real. But actually, so down here, it's almost a different topic. So it might need another heading. Why is my keyboard not working? Let me see if I can plug it in. There we go. All right. Now I have a functioning keyboard. All right. But actually, this actually might need another section inspired by Barbarians of Lemuria that talks about how to integrate spellcasting into the game. Because actually, and I think this is an important point that was missed by the above, because because whether or not magic is real, magic and the Elder Gods are real, both seasons of the Cultists revolve around casting a spell. A spell ritually. So this is because but examples. So we do need to bring out that examples of spell casting are there, because obviously in season 1, episode 2, Mike and Rob try to raise the dead, and they do so in a very ritualized manner. And then you also, the rest of that season involves trying to summon Cthulhu. Cast a summoning summoning ritual. So we definitely need to talk about that. That this is, regardless of the reality of what's going to happen, the spells in both cases, actually trying to cast this spell is a driving force between around the entire narrative here. So it could be for the game as well. So summoning ritual to awaken Cthulhu, but even that requires 2 sub rituals: the orgy and the branding. None of which, both of those are quite significant. The orgy takes an entire episode. The branding is basically an entire episode as well. And there was one episode that included a failed attempt to summon Cthulhu. And then the final episode, well, I don't know if it was successful, but they had one failed attempt to summon Cthulhu, which sent them on 2 sub rituals, and then to try the summoning again. So yes, I think that we need to talk about that. And I'm going to put down here in development notes, because I was making notes about what I want to say. Spell and ritual inspiration from Barbarians of Lemuria. Okay, so I think I'm going to go back and write that section, but I think that's I'm going to put a link to the Discord server here as well. So if you are here and you're not part of the Ravenkeep Discord server, you can join us. There's the server link in the chat. All right, so let's go back to the creating a character and our narrative roles. we almost got done, but I want to go back over all of them. I forget who it was. It may have been Lynn who was talking about we want to make sure that we have the right word structure, semantic structure of these different troubles, because I was noticing that we didn't on some of them the other day, and I was trying to adjust that, but I want to read through them all. I think there's still a couple of things that we need to add. Oh yeah, we got to work on the Elder Goth. We don't have troubles. We need troubles for the Elder Goth and sway skills for the Elder Goth. So let's just see where we are starting from the beginning. I also resorted them because their names changed, so they got back to alphabetical order. So let's make a pass through here and try to finish this up. So the caretaker, you frequently take charge of critical tasks and see to the well-being of your fellow cultists. So give me another opportunity to read it out loud too. However, your dedication to supporting others leads you to overlook your own aspirations and desires, often resulting in personal setbacks. Troubles include prioritize, assert yourself in a conflict, confront or discipline someone. Sway skills include assist or possible sway skills. You get to choose 3 of these. Assist in both cases. Assist someone by resolving a dilemma, demonstrate your worth to another, compliment someone with specificity, and mentor someone in a new skill. Okay, I like that. The conflicted. So the conflicted. You love the cult life, you really do, but there are other things you really love as well, like your band, girls, drugs, beer, the bowling league, or some other mundane interest that draws your attention away from the elder gods. Other cultists will most certainly disapprove. So, all right, this is one we were working on, so let's think about that. Hey, good morning, Jason. Good morning. Good to see you. Let's see. Okay, so here are our troubles for the conflicted. Resist the temptation of the mundane world. Demonstrate your unflagging loyalty to the cult. See, prioritize. I think I put a note here. Does that work? Because I think that's too much overlap between demonstrate your unflagging loyalty to the cult. Prioritize the cult over your mundane interests. I think there's too much overlap in those two things. What do you think? It seems like both. See, our other one is effectively communicate with cultists who do not share your mundane interests. But I think we need to change one of these. Now, maybe, see, demonstrate your unflagging loyalty to the cult. Maybe prioritize the cult over your mundane interests. This is different here. Resist the temptation of the mundane world. Resisting temptation, and resist is something you do. So when we're talking about the structure of these phrases, you would make a trouble check when you are trying to do something that is in your trouble area. So I do want them to be phrased, and this is in a way that they are talking about things that you are actively doing. So it can't be passive. So, for example, this should not be always tempted by the mundane world. So that would be, okay, like a characteristic. The characteristic is that you are always tempted by the mundane world. But you need to make a trouble check when you try to resist being tempted by the mundane world. And maybe we should even say that more directly in the rules here. So what do we say? What do we say about trouble checks? Checks. Most of the time, a player describes the action his or her character takes. When a player describes the action his or her character takes, that action is automatically successful. Other players react to it, and the story moves forward. However, there are 2 circumstances where players must roll dice, called making a check, to determine the success or failure of an action. A player must make a check whenever 1, their character attempts to gain sway with their fellow cultists by using one of their sway skills, or 2, when they attempt to succeed at a task related to one of their troubles. Why attempt to succeed? When they attempt a task related to involving one of their troubles. A character may only attempt one check per scene, and only then if it makes sense within the structure of the story being told. So your story can't be always, your trouble can't be always tempted by the mundane world, because that's not, that's like the default state. You wouldn't make a check to be always tempted by the mundane world, because that's the default check. You make the attempt, the check, when you are attempting to resist the temptation of the mundane world. So that phraseology is important there, the way that's phrased. A character may only attempt one check per scene, and only then if it makes sense within the structure of the story being told. Only one player can attempt a sway skill check in a scene. To make a check, roll a single-sided die and see if it meets or exceeds the difficulty number. DCs for trouble checks are always 6. Sway skills are always 5. And then use courage points to draw more. So that's what the way that's written there. So that's why when we're looking at the conflicted, resist the temptation here. Let's see. Place the cult above your own needs, Mike says. Okay, so let's see. So James says, have you considered wording the troubles as cannot statements? It makes more sense under the context of troubles. Okay, but cannot resist the temptations of the mundane world doesn't make sense, because you can make you would make the check to do it. You can resist the temptations of the mundane world, but you have to pass a successful check. If I'm understanding that. So it's not cannot prioritize the cult over your mundane interests. It's just very difficult, which is why you have to make the check. Am I understanding that right? Place the cult above your own needs. So I think that should, this one is probably also too extreme. Maybe you don't have to demonstrate your unflagging loyalty. You're just prioritizing the cult over your main mundane interests in some particular circumstance that's troubling for you. So place the cult over above your own needs. That one is a little bit different than the others. So prioritize the cult over your mundane interests. That's different from placing the cult above your own needs, because is it just, do I do X or do I do Y? Do I satisfy my cult friends, or do I satisfy my mundane friends? That's just choosing, which one do you do? Prioritize the cult over your mundane interests. That would be that check. But if it were something more about, this is more like demonstrating the unflagging loyalty, right? That's more like this, because place the cult above your own needs. We're saying you need X, but the cult needs that. And people are always suspicious of me anyway, because I have all these other interests. So I need to place the cult above my needs. So I can take away that note. It's a whole RPG based on the cultists, like James says here. PH says, I was thinking of the situation where he meets another group of interest, maybe the guys from the soccer team. Zero the Blade says, quick question about the spell casting. What if someone knows about Ninpo and can get around that with fire breath, fire breath, water walk, or smoke screen? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. PH says, does he hide the weirdness of the cultist life? Actually, that's a really good one too. Because probably when he's in the mundane world, he's also not normal. This conflicted. I mean, I wouldn't expect, who is our cultist that, Ben, Rob, Dave. When Dave is off with his band, I mean, he's still pretty weird. He still brings the cult with him. He doesn't just turn the cult off. So actually, that's an interesting one. Hide the weirdness of the cult. But see, that's kind of sounds like a trouble for everyone. Like Rob would have that trouble. Like they would, and Mike has that trouble. So they all kind of have difficulty hiding their cult affiliations when in the mundane world. I like that, but that would seem to apply to all of them. And so maybe, even though maybe he's one of the ones who is least able least most able to kind of intermix. Well, everyone else would be weird because we also have like his sway skills. Handle a mundane situation more dedicated cultists don't understand. Draw upon your network of contacts in the mundane world. Employ your mundane skill to impress others. Shock your fellow cultists by being competent in the mundane world. PH says maybe not just resisting, but hiding the cult way of life to try not to be ostracized by others. James says, maybe I'm adding context in my reading. You're right. Cannot statements would probably confuse things. Anon says, the important thing is these need to be clear demarcations of when the situation changes and what this would look like in play. Yes. So if you do these things, and by the way, succeeding at doing one of these things is one of the things that's going to make the story turn out well for your character. So if you are successful in one of your troubled areas, then it's going to turn out well for you, because this says concluding the story. Players should craft a finale where things ultimately work out well for the character holding sway and those who successfully passed checks involving one of their troubles at any time during the game. So the final character with sway, it's going to turn out well for him. But then also, if you successfully pass a check involving one of your troubles at any time during the game, then the story is going to turn out well for you, which I like. I like you did something that people didn't think you were going to be able to do. You know, you did prioritize the cult over the bowling league. And so things should go well for you by the end of the story. So I kind of like that. Resist the temptations of the mundane world. Place the cult above your own needs. Prioritize the cult over your mundane interests or friends. Okay. All right, let's go to the critic. No, right. They would, right. So when we're talking about here, the critic, so like on the conflicted. So right, resist the temptations of the mundane world. So by default, see, and see, this is now I'm wondering, should this be explained more in the rule system? So the trouble area is resisting the temptations of the mundane world. So by default, they are frequently or always tempted by the mundane world. And ordinarily, they have to give in. That's their thing. In fact, let's write out an example. Let's write out an example about this. Maybe we should have an example. So checks. Example. Dave, the casual cultist of Cthulhu, is heavily involved in his band in the mundane world. He has, and so plays the narrative role of the conflicted. One of his troubles is resist the temptation Is it temptation or temptations? Temptations, plural. Resist the temptations of the mundane world. This means that Dave is usually or always distracted from the cult by his the band, by his bandmates, by the band, and all of its activities. That's a constant part of his character. That's a reoccurring story beat for his character. However, when temptations arise, Dave gives in. However, there may be a critical point in the narrative where Dave must resist that temptation. We'll call this example 1. Must resist that temptation, and must resist that temptation in order to join, to prioritize joining the band, joining the cult for a ritual, for an important ritual, rather than going to band practice. Dave's player can make a check can make a trouble check to see if Dave is able to resist. Or we should say, because the ritual is so important, the players believe, because the ritual is so important, the players believe it's narratively appropriate for Dave to try to resist, the band and join the cultists instead. Therefore, Dave's player can make a trouble check to see if Dave resists temptation. Dave has 2 points of courage saved, we'll say, to expend on to expend in just such a situation. He rolls 1 die. He rolls 3 dice. One for the base check, and 2 more for each of the points of courage expended. He rolls a and needs to roll. He needs to roll a 5. He needs to it's a 6, right? The difficulty check down here. Well, so this goes into the check itself right here. So I guess actually our example right here ends. This would be Dave's example. I'll have to see how I want to structure this, but that would be the example about trying to when to make this check. I think having this example in here is good. So example 1, Dave. I'll clean up our format and structure later. Example 1, Dave. Let's see what's going on over here. So Anand says, indeed, but these triggers say nothing about this about stakes are involved. He may lose one of his sway skills for the duration of a session until you think you would may lose one of his sway skills for the duration of a session until he atones. So Anon says, in this case, we're rolling for what they choose rather than whether they succeed. We're rolling for what they choose. Right. We don't know whether they're going to succeed or not. If he denies his normal life too much, he loses his ability to walk both worlds, at least for a while. So he's Nick Cage's Ghost Rider. Hey, good morning, Andrew. Good morning. Oh, look who's here. Look who's here. We were just talking about Dave. It's Jester Sky right here. We were just using Dave as an example here for the RPG. So Jester says, would you have any increase, decrease to future checks based on success or failure of the previous checks made? Not according to the low stakes RPG. So we're adapting the low stakes rules. So the rules here for the low stakes RPG, which are written by Craig Campbell and were designed for mockumentary style role playing game, and it's very heavy on improv. This game is very heavy on improv, with only a few times in the narrative where you end up needing to roll dice for a check. Yes, exactly. Speak and you shall appear. That's pretty awesome. So we were just saying, so here, let me reread this example. So example 1, Dave. Dave, the casual cultist of Cthulhu, is heavily involved with his band in the mundane world, and so plays the narrative role of the conflicted. One of his troubles is resist the temptations of the mundane world. This means that Dave is usually or always distracted from the cult by the band and all of its activities. Well, so let's not say always. Dave is usually distracted from the cult. That's a reoccurring story beat for his character. When temptation arises, Dave gives in. However, there may be a critical point in the narrative where Dave must resist that temptation. I think that should be so as. Dave gives in. However, there may be a critical point in the narrative where Dave must resist that temptation so as to prioritize joining the cult for an important ritual rather than going to band practice. Therefore, because the ritual is so important, the players believe it is narratively appropriate for Dave to try to resist the band and join the cultists instead. Therefore, Dave's player can make a trouble check to see if Dave resists temptation. I like that. We could even talk more about that here. We've got creating a character here, the trouble, defining, because we don't have too much information on that, but I think we should expand on this. Select 3 troubles. It says each narrative role has a variety of possible troubles. Players should choose 3 of these and indicate them on their character sheet. Players are also free to come up with their own trouble and write it on the blank line on their character sheet. So let's say when designing a trouble, because we do come up with how to design a sway skill down here. When designing a trouble, troubles often indicate the default state of the character's life. Or troubles. I've noticed I use the word often a lot in this kind of writing. And was that a ritual? Was that a ritual that was cast to summon Dave? Yes, apparently it was. Troubles indicate a default state for a character, for a default state of the character's life, and when they should or may roll a check to overcome it. For instance, let's use the caretaker. Assert yourself in the conflict. For instance, the caretaker, like, what does that mean? the caretaker has the trouble assert yourself in a conflict. This means that by default, this means that the caretaker, is usually passive and non-aggressive, or passive is usually passive and does not stand up for himself. However, when narratively appropriate, the character may make a check, a trouble check, to try to overcome that character flaw or that weakness or that character. What's a good word there? I do often use often. Yes. Let's see. So when the narratively appropriate, that character may make a trouble check to overcome that character. What is that character trait? That to overcome that character trait. Now, let's not even say when designing a trouble. Let's just say that's explaining what a trouble is, the way we're using it. So this now says select 3 troubles. Each narrative role has a variety of possible troubles. Players should choose 3 of these and indicate them on their character sheet. Troubles indicate a default state of the character's life that makes things difficult for them, and also indicates when they may roll a check to overcome it. Each narrative role has a variety of possible troubles. Players should choose 3 of these and indicate them on their character sheet. Troubles indicate a default state of the character's life that makes things difficult for them and also indicates when they may roll a check to overcome it. For instance, the caretaker has the trouble assert yourself in a conflict. This means the caretaker is usually passive and does not stand up for himself. However, when narratively appropriate, the character may make a trouble check to try to overcome that character trait. Players are also free to come up with their own trouble and write it in the blank line on their character sheet. I like that. Okay, so Anon, I think I see where we're going here. So Anon says, the meat here are choices and stakes, but all we're considering are the trigger's states, which are still ambiguous enough to apply almost anywhere. Right. So you say, Anon says, so which conflicts would assert yourself in a conflict not apply to? Okay. So I would say, so some people are going to want a very concretized game rule that's going to tell you when are you allowed to use this ability to try to assert yourself in a conflict and when can you not? So let's see here. What do we say about that? We say the majority of the game is managed through spontaneous improvisation, which players exercise their own judgment to determine the success or failure of their actions. There are some circumstances where players will use simple rules to adjudicate whether or not important actions are successful. So we come down here to checks. Most of the time, when a player describes the action his or her character takes, that action is automatically successful. Other players react to it, and the story moves forward. However, there are 2 circumstances where players must roll dice called making a check to determine the success or failure of an action. The player, to gain sway, So really, it's not. So this check number 2, we say number 2, when they attempt a task involving one of their troubles. A character may only make 1 check per scene. So you only get 1 check per scene. So one constraint is that you're only able to do this once per scene. And then only if it makes sense within the structure of the story being told. Example 2. When isn't there a conflict? Yeah. So in one scene, the characters are just hanging out. And then Dave gets a text message saying, hey, the band is getting together down at the pub. Right? What's Dave's default state? His default state is to go. So there's a conflict right there. There's a conflict right there. Oh, we threw in that, okay, Dave's hanging out. And then he gets a text message from the band members to come down to the pub. The players have to make a call as to whether this is a narratively significant point in the game. So as I'm talking about some other things here, is that narratively significant and something that Dave would really wrestle with in that moment? No, because Dave would say, all right, hey, I got to go. There's something going on. I'm going to go down and I'm going to go to the pub. So it seems like, intuitively here to me, it seems like in that case, that's not a situation where the players would say, hey, that sounds like a narratively appropriate situation for Dave to try to resist his trouble. Whereas if we're coming down to the ultimate summoning of Cthulhu, of course there's going to be a conflict with the band in a story like this. And so it would make sense that he would, and then he said, but I'm going to try to be with my cultists. So the check would come in. So we need more explanation on that. Because you're right, it's kind of weak right here. Maybe we need more information here. A character may only attempt 1 check per scene, and only then if it makes sense within the structure of the story being told. Only 1 player can attempt a sway skill check in a scene. So only 1 player may attempt a sway skill check. For example, for instance, okay, a player we'll say this, moreover. For instance, a player may only use a sway skill when the let's use an example. So the dandy, okay, woo someone or impress others with your style and panache, or control a room non-verbally. The fanatic, we got to work on the fanatic too. There's a lot to be done here. The lackey, sway skill. Impress someone with your attention to detail and focus. For instance, may only use sway skills when the other cultists, when it makes sense, when it makes sense in that scene for that player, I don't know exactly like this phraseology, for that character like for example, the lackey has the sway skill. Impress someone with attention to detail and focus. But if in the context of that scene, players are free to argue. But if that particular skill, if that skill is not relevant to the story being told in that scene, it cannot be used. Players are free to argue their case if they see some if they see some particular way may indeed be relevant. But players should come to a mutually agreeable should mutually agree as to when sway skills can be used, as to when skills can be used. Skills can be used and checks can be made. Maybe one of my problems here is that I kind of got both, and I think this was the way that low stakes was set up. It's kind of got both. We're kind of doing both checks at the same time. Maybe I should break this section out into sway skills and troubles. That way I'm not trying to go back and forth between what's a sway skill and what's related to a trouble here. In fact, I think I might need to do that. I'm going to put a note up here at the top. Note. Divide this section. I mean, it sort of makes sense because both of these are handled the same way. But I think we could have a brief section on how we're going to handle checks. But then we need more explanation on what these different types of checks are. Note, potentially divide this section into trouble checks and sway checks. I think that will improve the flow of this document. And sway checks. Because this is a lot of an example right here that just has to do with trouble checks. So we could write another example like that that just has to do with sway checks. Can be used. And when checks should be made. Remember, the game may be more fun if there is a bias for action and allowing players or characters to attempt actions. Like, this is important information that sway skills can only be done once. PH says, what about the caretaker has a trouble? What about the caretaker has a trouble? The impulse to help those he has wronged. Maybe he fights an enemy in one session, and the next he may try to atone himself without telling his fellows. Well, that sounds interesting. Does this need to, Anand, does it need to say the word interpersonal conflict? If you're thinking that conflict is too broad, perhaps as far as the conflict of the story goes, would it make more sense to say assert yourself in an interpersonal conflict? I think that could be fun, but that's one of those things, that would be a great one for, one that could be added in here. Confront or discipline someone, assert yourself in an interpersonal conflict. Address a personal challenge, prioritize self-care. All right, so that's other stuff that need to be smoothed out. Let's go down to the critic. The critic. You are extremely dedicated to your cult and God. Others often don't line up to your high standards, and you don't mind calling them out for it. However, your constant scrutiny of others blinds you to your own imperfections. Troubles. Rectify an issue of your making. Display compassion and support. Accept criticism gracefully. Acknowledge vulnerability. So that seemed, all of those things seem to pass our trouble thing now. That's telling you what your default situation is. You don't typically display compassion and support. You don't accept criticism gracefully. You don't acknowledge your vulnerability. And you typically do not rectify issues, even if you've made them. If you want to do those things, then you're going to have to pass a check. So it's okay. So that was the issue that we're having. Okay. That would be more precise and open other kinds of conflicts to other archetypes. Gotcha. PH says, I just pictured in one session they destroy a rival group apartment and the next he takes pity on them and tries to help. That would be funny. That would be funny. So sway skills. Persuade someone through harsh criticism. Highlight someone's imperfections with precision. Deceive someone into achieving your goals. Influence someone to concede their position. The dandy. You're the ultimate showstopper, confident that everyone recognizes your charm and charisma. Your impeccable style, flair, and captivating gaze leaves others in awe. There's no room for improvement in your flawless self, at least according to you. Troubles include show humility, empathize with others, do anything low-key, be helpful without reward. And sway skills, okay, I got a note here, is this too similar? Impress others with your style and panache, woo someone, overwhelm someone with your greatness. Is that too similar to impress others with your style and panache? I think it could be. Overwhelm someone with your greatness. Like impress, I like the word impress here. Impress others with your style and panache. Overwhelm someone with your greatness. I think that is too similar. Yeah, okay, Mike thinks so too. Okay, so we need another sway skill for the dandy. Taking another note of things that need to be done. Make sure. Okay, so what is it that the dandy impress someone with your style and panache? Oh, what about improving somebody else? Like, isn't that kind of archetypical for that? Now, wait a minute. We got to, like, this character's got a date or something. We got to help him out to make sure this date goes well. What's that kind of phrase or something like that? When, like, you confer your style upon somebody else, like improve somebody's chances of success or improve someone's life through almost like style coaching, giving them a makeover or something like that. Style another character for the mundane world. Okay, so well, why does it have to be the mundane world? Wingman, right? Yeah, like there. It could be within the cult world too. I like the idea of the wingman here because that helps you. That helps you also put the focus on somebody else. Maybe we already the or style guide or style coach. Just why don't we know that we're going to be helping them out. So serve, improve another character. his wingman or style coach. Excuse me, Steve's coming. Well, okay, so let's see. True style, another character. True style, another character. Makeover maven. Ideal wingman for any task. Does that go with this? Does that cover the style? Jester says, "LOL, tentacle man." Well, wingman. His wingman or fin man. Anon says the issue still is the lack of clearly identified stakes. For example, the choice of the conflicted would be something like fail to summon an elder god, get thrown out of the band. Right. And that's still a choice to be made, not a task to be resolved. That's when you would make the check. That sounds like a good time to make the check. If there are no stakes, so we haven't made that clear yet. So up here, I'm gonna have to reorganize this section. But trouble checks should only be made when there are clear stakes for the character regarding whether or not they will overcome their trouble. If the conflicted just has to choose between grabbing a pizza with the cultists or getting beer with the band, a trouble check is likely not warranted. Dave gives in his default state. Now, if Dave has to choose between a critical ritual to summon Cthulhu, between serving in a critical role to summon Cthulhu, in a ritual to summon Cthulhu, or playing with his band on their big break. That is as a choice. That is a situation that might justify that would justify Dave making the check, making the trouble check. and probably throwing a few points of courage toward it to ensure its success, to help ensure its success. Is that helping at all? Is something like that helping at all? Because I'm not sure that we'll see. But right. James says low stakes are baked into this theme. Yes. Yeah, I think I do. James says none of this really matters. There aren't no stakes, but definitely extremely low stakes. When I say none of this, I mean character actions and situations. The stakes are risking an eye roll from your fellow cultists or missing brand practice and being unrehearsed for a show, like extremely low. Most of the time, summoning Cthulhu is different. Good morning, Tomocrat. Good morning. Mike says, I think that helps. Okay, good. So the section on checks needs revision then. Okay, so it's not written smooth now, but all right. But I'm glad we're going through this. So this helps us. We've been going through these characters because these character narrative roles are the core of the game here. So we've got to establish. Establish why here. Make sure they're established. Okay, so maybe I don't need the word character. Just improve another by being his wingman or finman or style coach. Okay, the Elder Goth. Okay, so we need some troubles here. So now that we have some ideas about what troubles are, we need some ideas for troubles and also sway skills. So the Elder Goth, you have successfully detached yourself from the modern world and fully embraced the cult life. You are what every neophyte cultist wants to be. You have converted your home into a lair, or at least have a hangout that even the other cultists think is really hardcore. That, let's just say, the other cultists that have a hangout the other cultists think is really hardcore. Somehow, some way, you manage to live a life that is mostly detached from the concerns of the mundane world. Keep on saying life twice. The mundane world. You have successfully detached yourself from the modern world and fully embraced the cult life. You are what every neophyte cultist wants to be. You have converted your home into a lair, or at least have a hangout the other cultists think is really hardcore. Somehow, however, some way, you manage to live a life that's mostly detached from the concerns of the mundane world. Okay, so we need troubles. So this would be like effectively use. We had something like that. So that indicates what the standard default situation is, and that when you're going to overcome this, you're going to do this. All right, let's see here. Hey, good morning, Sable. The dice mechanics are simple. We got D6s that we're rolling, and you're trying to roll either a 6 if it's a trouble check or a 5 if it's a sway skill check. And you've got points of courage that you can use to roll more dice. Anon says, back in my day, these were just fate aspects and would get a fate point every time we made bad decisions due to it. I think you could totally do that. I think there is some similarity there. I think there's some similarity here to these and fate aspects. To me, it's amazing how often I feel like fate comes up on the morning grind. But so yeah, I think thinking of these kind of as fate aspects, I think could definitely work. Sway skill, ritualistic room. You have one. I like that one. Because even among the cultists, you're hardcore. That would certainly apply to the mundane world. Rob tries to blend into the background by putting on the football jersey. Probably not so well, but somebody who is playing the role of the Elder Goth is really going to have a hard time doing that. Even among the cultists, they're regarded as hardcore. So not among the mundane world or even among the cultists. Troubles, Christian neighbors, they don't get you and are always trying to cause trouble. Now that is, that sounds more like the beat sheet. Or just in general, actually, we're supposed to have a table of headaches. That sounds like a complication that could go for any of them. Both blend into the background and stand out like a sore thumb could be troubles, especially in the context that PH mentions with Christianity, right? Blend into the background. So by default, you stand out. It's very difficult to blend in. So by default, you stand out. If you are trying to blend in, you have to make a check. Effectively use technology. James says instead of neighbors, you could have them unnerve close by Christians who are always compelled to approach and preach or pray for you. Yeah. Now, okay, is that too difficult? Is that too different than blending into the background? Because I like this idea that like the mundane world, mundane people are probably not unnerved. Like we established, especially in the show, that the presence of the cultists don't unnerve people by and large. You know, when they're talking about Mike and Rob doing a ritual where they're dancing in the park, like nobody feels threatened by this. This is very very non-threatening. But this person, so appear non-threatening. Trouble. Talk to mundane people that do not realize your hardcore ways. Appear non-threatening to people in the mundane world. That might be overlap in there. Yeah, that why just Christians? You could have someone come up and start yelling about your aura is purple. Yes, that's why I moved. I said over here religious, something about religious people. You think the non-threatening one is better? Okay. So James says, okay, so we changed the context from unnerving people to having an uncanny knack for attracting particularly zealous believers, removing the unnerving piece and adding it back to overzealous Christians. Okay, what is okay? Another way. I'm not sure where that goes, James. Blend into the background, appear non-threatening. Yeah. Okay. So troubles. See the metachromism. Some of these right here is modern tech says. So this needs to. So our troubles actually here. See this violates our rule. It should be use modern tech conveniences, conform to social norms, hold down a job. See, just pop culture isn't a trouble. But I was looking at because there might be some overlap between these and the other one. Use comfort. That's conform to social norms. So I don't know if this is a good one or not, but this would be more like relate to. That's kind of a relate to pop culture. See, but so conform to social norms. I mean, I don't want to duplicate these, but here the metachromism could be involved with the mundane world, and the deal here is that you're outside of it. So you don't even have to worry about holding down a job for whatever reason, or your job is something that goes along with what you are. Let's see. Trouble, he's actually not so hardcore. He secretly takes care of an elder from a retired house every week to read stories to poor children. Well, that sounds like something that could be role played by the character, because you mean you can obviously do more with the character. Appear non-threatening to people in the Monday world. We need another one. And I'm thinking about Sherry here. So what is it that Sherry has trouble with? Okay, using technology, blending into the background, appearing non-threatening to people in the mundane world. Oh, the vulnerability or something like that. Yeah. Okay, I like the way that's going. Acknowledge weakness or vulnerability. Acknowledge relate to your weakness or vulnerability. Oh, I like that one, because you don't really see like Sherry doing something like that. She's always in charge. She's always in control. I like that. So sway skills. I said overall a cultist with your knowledge of the occult or your cool gear. Use your lair or hangout to cover for cultists in need. Cheering somebody up here. Or by telling them. Or how hardcore. Inspire another cultist with your hardcore ethos. Yes, use your lair. Okay, so what do we think about that? Overall, a cultist with your knowledge of the occult or your cool gear. Use your lair as a hangout to cover for cultists in need. Cheer someone up by telling them how hardcore they are. Like, you really want to hear this from this person. If this person sits down to tell you that you're doing well, then you listen. And inspire another cultist with your hardcore ethos. I like that. What do you think about that, James? This is the Elder Goth that you named. Okay, the Fanatic. The Fanatic. You're a true believer, completely dedicated to the Elder Gods and obsessed with bringing them back to the earth. Your true calling is to be their prophet and herald their coming. You'll probably also have a special role to play in facilitating their return up to and including self-sacrifice. No task or quest is too great when undertaken in service of the Elder Gods. Troubles. Focus on anything other than summoning Elder Gods. We need troubles and sway skills. Well, this should this is inspire. We're using the word inspire again here. Inspire other cultists with a like what type of with a dramatic speech. Focus on so some of these I don't want them to have too much overlap, but this person probably also has troubles particular troubles relating to the mundane world. So, but focus on anything other than summoning the elder gods. That one may be too broad, because that would also imply things like the mundane problems. Can't go to school, can't or difficulty in school, difficulty at work. But also, this would probably also annoy some of the other cultists as well. Okay. Can I see the description again? Had to turn away when you read it. Yeah. So here's the fanatic. You're a true believer, completely dedicated to the elder gods and obsessed with bringing them back to the earth. Your true calling is to be their prophet and herald their coming. You probably also have a special role to play in facilitating their return, up to and including self-sacrifice. No task or quest is too great when undertaken in service of the elder gods. Well, so some trouble would be, resisting a quest. Also, something. Oh, I had an idea and it slipped by. Oh, you think the world revolves around you, right? So this is kind of like, that's kind of like we need some inspiration here from the dandy or something like that. Show humility, emphasize with others, do anything low key. No, so, but it's more like, in this case, it's more like realize you are not the main character. That one's very meta. Trouble. Something about doing things in groups causing a higher chance of failure. If you don't bring the chips, they're almost guaranteed. If you bring the chips, they're almost guaranteed to be sour cream and onion. Yeah, inspire other cultists, proselytizing. How do you spell that? There is an S in there. There we go. I mean, that may be too specific. Inspire the other guy, cultists with a dramatic speech of the elder gods might be enough. Let's see. Oh, I see. Trouble doing something in groups causing a higher chance of failure because other people aren't going to get it. If you don't bring the chips, they're almost guaranteed. If you don't bring the chips, they're almost guaranteed to end up as sour cream and onion. Like reliance on others is your nemesis because no one else can do it right. Rely on others to Or no, I mean, delegate an important task to others. So that would be it. Delegate an important task to others. So resist trouble, have non-cult related conversations. Let's see. Focus on anything other than summoning the elder gods. Resist the chance. Realize you are not the main character. Delegate an important task to others. Does this one need to go? This one may need to go. Trouble is have non-cult related conversations. Could it just be non-occult conversation? See, that this one up here is so broad. Let's focus on school or work, some kind of mundane interest. Focus on a mundane interest or a mundane task. Doesn't have to be interested in it, but focus on a mundane task. Resist the chance. Resist going on occult quest. Have a serious non-occult conversation. Delegate an important task to others. So when would this person be at their best? Come through at the right moment. I mean, that seems like they would be at their best when, okay, things are down, but who's actually been able to prepare? Like who's prepared? Who's there? The fanatic is going to be there, is always going to come through for you. Well, I may have to see. We've been going. Hello, we've been going at this for an hour and 37 minutes. Effortlessly and correctly perform ritual actions. Now, I like that one. Anon says, honestly, this doesn't sound like a very compelling archetype. So are we not? We're not capturing the right one here. We're not capturing what's going on. Like to me, when writing up a different character, when writing up sample characters, I think this is the one that Steve would be. Like Steve would be a fanatic. He decided that he was going to become a cultist, and so he left his family to go out and live in the middle of the in the park as homeless and start worshiping. So I'm thinking about. So I was originally thinking about this being like Steve. So let's see. Does this seem to fit Steve? Or at least have some things in here that would allow us to make Steve. What are Steve's troubles? Anon says, no, the Elder Goth. You think Steve is the Elder Goth? See, I was thinking that like Sherry would be the Elder Goth. I'm not sure that yeah, I don't think Steve is the Elder Goth. Yeah. Let's see. So, but yeah, I should be thinking about Steve here when we're looking about the fanatic here. So, I mean, one of Steve's, what are Steve's troubles? Yeah, because probably he's not doing. He never had an opportunity to do that. Uh, come through. When is Steve at his best? And of course, he was kind of a villain in season 2. I mean, he can probably do this. He probably could have done this, but he got turned away. Maybe Steve could have some type of rotten luck trait. Well, maybe we'll come back to the fanatic here because maybe he's not right. No, but the over enthusiasm. How does the fanatic contrast with the critic? Okay, so they're both extremely dedicated to your cult and your god, but the fanatic here, enthusiasm, like curbing your enthusiasm. Let me make a note about here. Something about very enthusiastic. Because like this, inspiring the other cultists with dramatic speeches and things like that, that goes with your enthusiasm here. Enthusiasm. But on the other hand, enthusiasm. Yeah, so I guess enthusiasm kind of goes through here. Sway, resist attempts. Sway, resist attempts to move you away from the elder gods. Yeah, do we have anybody who is like that? Yeah, well, we'll put down a note here. So resist attempts or you would be the last one who would see through all of this and that none of it's real. You'd be the last one to do this. Or I'll just as notes here. Okay. Resist attempts to what did you say? You away from the elder gods. But what I was thinking was explain away. This is exactly the kind of person who would explain away any I don't know what the words here are. Anything that explain away mundane explanations what do you say here? Explain away mundane explanations for any other type of fun. Like if you're wondering why some spell didn't work, okay, we did all of this and our spell didn't work. Okay, everybody else may be depressed about it. Maybe we didn't get the whatever done, but it's the fanatic who's got some type of elder god apologetics, basically. The elder god apologetics. Mundane explanations for why the elder, this isn't the right terminology, but why the elder gods or magic does not work. This is like elder god apologetics. Elder god apologetics. That needs to be something that we have more of. Like somebody needs to have that YouTube channel or something like that. Elder god apologetics. Okay. Okay. So that's not finished. That's not right. But we've got some notes to work with. I'm going to turn this one over over in my head here. We've got to use the phrase elder god apologetics someplace in here. Yeah, elder god confirmation bias too, right? Yes, yes, or I'm going to put that down here. Elder god confirmation bias. Okay, the grouch. You're always in a grumpy mood and find little joy in life. Nothing is ever quite to your liking. Despite this attitude, you do possess a handful of redeeming traits that prevent the other cultists from making you the next sacrifice to the great old ones. However, you only deploy these qualities to manipulate others. So your troubles would be give in on something, be friendly and inviting, apologize and mean it, show genuine affection. Sway skills include stare silently to win. We all love that one. Complain until you get your way. Show your good side to get your way. Get someone else angry and bond with them. That one, I think that one's pretty good. So the lackey. Okay, we had done this one the other day. Let's review it. The lackey, eager to please and desperate for approval, you are the quintessential follower and laborer within the cult. You willingly carry out orders and thankless tasks without question, craving validation from your fellow cultists. Despite your loyalty, you tend to be taken advantage of and are often overlooked and undervalued. Go against the group, or just say no, or say no. Stand up for yourself, choose sides in a conflict, or be confrontational. Climb the social hierarchy of the cult. Sway skills. See a menial and or monotonous task through to completion. Go unnoticed because others see you as inconsequential. Impress someone with your attention to detail and focus. And being prepared to meet, so as to meet the needs of others. And I like that one. Someone said, like, I brought your favorite snack, sir. That's exactly the kind of thing. I like that. All right, the lackey. That one sounds pretty good. The LARPer. Did we finish that one? I think we did. The LARPer. You aren't totally convinced by this worshiping elder gods thing, but hanging with cultists is really cool, and you seriously dig their aesthetic. And hey, they accept you, so why not? On the other hand, they may just be keeping you around for the next sacrifice. Troubles. Demonstrate true occult knowledge. Break character even when necessary. Recognize the true opinions of others and actual danger. Operate independently or act decisively when alone. Operate independently or act decisively when alone. Sway skills. Resolve a conflict with rock, paper, scissors. Accomplish a task heavily dependent on luck. Fast talk the uninitiated into doing what you want. Undertake a task other cultists think is difficult or dangerous. The Maverick. You're a wild spirit who scoffs at the very notion of rules. For you, conformity is a foreign concept and you relish forging your own path, regardless of societal norms or expectations. Whether it's a rebellious streak or a deep-seated aversion to authority, you thrive on independence and autonomy. You do things your way. Troubles. Cooperate with someone, see the error of your ways, get someone to trust you, show humility. And like this one is the one that I would build Shay off of. Show your sway includes show your way to be the best way, surprise everyone, make someone else feel cool, show off big time. Now, the metachronism. Oh, and now have we the novitiate? Okay, we're not done with the novitiate. We need another sway skill for the novitiate. Okay, let's read through the metachronism with our understanding of troubles now. The metachronism. You are better suited to living in another place and so are out of place in the modern world. And you're better suited to living in another time and so are out of place in the modern world. You cling to familiar ancient routines and struggle to keep up with the fast-paced and intricate nature of modern living. Are you actually from a different time or are you just delusional? Who can say? Your troubles include use modern tech conveniences, conform to social norms, relate to pop culture. Is that a good one? Because it can't just be pop culture. I mean, relate to like people through pop culture. That's better. And they can't just say pop culture. Relate to people through pop culture would be one. Hold down a job. Whereas your sway skills are possession of forbidden eldritch knowledge, pointing out your past success to others, pretend to be more important than you are, impress someone using antiquated skills or language. Got it. All right, so the novitiate. This is Ben. So we're going to need another sway skill here. We're short a sway. All right, let's see what this is. The novitiate. You're the new cultist around and are enthusiastic and eager to please, and more than a little desperate to fit in. Unlike the lackey, you at least have another cultist willing to take you under their wing or fin for eventual full initiation into the cult. You make a lot of mistakes, but sometimes your inexperience gives you insight into situations that others simply cannot have. So the troubles are understand group dynamics, stand up for yourself and resist exploitation, see character flaws in more advanced cultists, resist being overawed or easily impressed. So that's when they're, by default, they're overawed or easily impressed, but you're trying to resist that here. That would be your trouble. So sway is learn new rituals or tasks or discover new information. We need the word uncover someplace. We're not using discover in two places. Or uncover new information. Comfort a distressed cultist by telling them how amazing they are. What is another way that the novitiate would be ahead? Troubles do two things. They define a default state for your character that makes something difficult for them. They define the default state. Should I write this down? Troubles define, right here, troubles indicate a default state of the character's life that makes things difficult for them and also indicates when they may roll a check to overcome it. Oh, PH says sway, fresh perspective. You may retry a test that your mates already failed at by doing something different. Okay, so the test that they can retry, they're only trouble checks. Because there aren't checks just like a Dungeons and Dragons check. You know, to open a gate or something like that. Another player would only be making a check if they are trying to overcome one of their troubles, or fresh perspective, or they would only be trying to roll a check if they're trying to overcome one of their troubles, or if they are trying to gain sway over the group. So something about a fresh perspective. So you discover a problem others overlook. Yeah, so when would you use that? So something about fresh perspective. How do we phrase that? So like solve a problem. So I mean, could it just be solve a problem another cultist has already failed at? So they won't necessarily have had to roll dice. Maybe they don't have to roll dice, but solve a problem or complete a task another cultist already failed at through a fresh perspective. I mean, that would definitely put you up among the cultists if you do that. Solve a problem or complete a task another cultist has already failed through a fresh perspective. All right. Well, I got to grab something to eat. I've got to eat something, and then Brianna and I are working this afternoon, but I've got to sit down and work on this some more. We didn't quite get as far as I wanted to. I thought we'd be getting into the gods, but we didn't quite get into the gods. We were still finishing up here, which was great. I think we came up with some great information and got clarification as to some of the information about the checks. I'm going to go back up here, and I'm going to rewrite this section on checks, dividing sway checks from trouble checks so that we can have dedicated information on both, and then try to get all of these narrative roles. So I think we basically got them, but the fanatic still needed work. Oh yeah, and Eric the Viking. You may find the whole movie here on YouTube. Just search for Eric the Viking. Well, maybe I should turn that on while I'm trying to eat breakfast here. All right. So, all right. We'll be back at least Sunday. So, if I were to be on again, I really want to get this done. So it'd be nice to be on again in the morning. But if it were on again in the morning between now and Sunday, it would have to be really early, and I'm not sure if I can do that. Anyway, stay abreast of things by the Discord server. So, all right, I'm going to go eat breakfast. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your help. This was amazing. Really enjoyed it. Got to move on with it. Got to keep things moving. All right, later, everybody. Go forth, be creative, be constructive, and grind on. Later.